Did that even hit, did any of that oil even hit down here? I don't know, because I thought it went way, way, way down the BC coast when that happened. Maybe not. I don't know. But wondered about that. I mean, still in New Orleans to this day, half the houses have no electricity. The poor area, the lower Ninth Ward, you still can't drink the water. No psychiatric facility has reopened. And the main charity hospital for people who don't have fancy health insurance cards, that hasn't opened either. And there's also debate still going on about whether or not the levees were blown on purpose to try and flood out the undesirables. I don't know, I wasn't there, but they did do that once before. In 1927, there was so-called Great Mississippi Flood, where so much water was slowly coming down that Arkansas was under 10% of our state of Arkansas was underwater for a while. And here it comes, this mass moving towards New Orleans. Oh my God, what are we going to do? And the Johnny on the spot engineer with a lot of government clout said, I know, blow the levees right here, flood all the poor people, and we will save the white people in New Orleans. And that's what they did. And he was hailed as a genius, especially by himself. And even back then, he had used a lot of self-promotion to ride his engineering feat as the savior of New Orleans all the way to the White House. A year later, he was president. His name was Herbert Hoover, also considered the man who helped give us the Great Depression in the 1930s. I did see some good things going on, too, but it didn't come from FEMA, it didn't come from Halliburton or whatever. It came from grassroots, basically. There's a group called Common Ground Collective who started up right after the hurricane and the flood hit. They had medical clinics up in some of the worst areas. They have a women's shelter now, media center, and they're even starting to open their own guerrilla schools because the city and the state and the feds aren't bothering to do their job, hoping that the kids who go to those schools won't come back. But so they're opening schools themselves. They can be found, by the way, if you want to help them out, at commongroundrelief.org. commongroundrelief.org. Another one, emergencycommunities.org. They've set up a lot of great big mass soup kitchens and things to feed a lot of the refugees every night, still having to crank it out 6 months later. Yeah. So if you decide to warm yourselves up and visit the States on your summer vacation, you're bored and have nothing to do and nowhere to go, you can always go to New Orleans because they're still going to need a lot of help for years and years and years to come. And also missing from the Hillary list, of course, is the whole idea that somehow it's okay for the government of the United States to be spying on everybody now. And those same lovely telecom corporations like AT&T letting the NSA just run a snake cable into one of their big things in San Francisco where a lot of the internet traffic went through so they could siphon off all of it. And what's dangerous about legalizing spying and things like that, holding people in prison without trial, is it also means there's going to be more and more stuff like what happened in the 60s and 70s to anti-war people and other kinds of activists. The FBI, of course, constantly trying to plant evil articles about Martin Luther King and spying on him, killing Black Panther leaders in Chicago, killing American Indian movement people by the dozens in North and South Dakota. They call that program COINTELPRO, to try and get all the activists to fight each other by printing up their own fake newspapers where one person would supposedly criticize the other and then the other would start fighting with them, and when actually the other person didn't write it at all and things like that. And that sort of thing is going on again now too. There haven't been any provable deaths yet, but Schwarzenegger, for example, ordered the California National Guard to spy on noticed terrorist cells, the Nurses Union, and an anti-war group called the Raging Grannies. Their crime being protesting Schwarzenegger's trying to wipe out the nurses and the teachers' unions, which he failed to do, at least so far. You know, you can't have people doing that to me. We need to chaos. No, too much greediness. And, what else? Oh, yeah, right around the time Hillary dissed Cindy Sheehan in that press release, it was timed as an attack on a huge anti-war rally happening in Washington, D.C., September 24th, 2005. I was there. It was quite something. They expected 100,000 people and got 300,000 people. Of course, Fox News then said it was actually 20,000 people, and then another 20,000 were counter-protesters that other people never seemed to be able to find. And then they had me MC this celebration concert, another part of the D.C. Capitol Mall later, which was quite an event. I had to work an 11-hour day yapping on stage, but it was an honor. It was worth it. And backstage was amazing. Oh, there's Ian MacKay. Oh, there's Jesse Jackson. Oh, there's Cindy Sheehan. Oh, there's the Bouncing Souls. Oh, there's Le Tigre. Oh, there's Julian Bond. Oh, there's just all kinds of people mixing together. Joan Baez was there, all kinds of people. But what really made my day was when I came out and saw a young kid with a big grin on their face holding up a sign saying, "Dick Cheney kills kittens." Another great one somebody had was, will somebody give the president a blowjob so he could be impeached? Or another apropos one, this was only less than a month after the fact, no Iraqi ever left me on a roof to die. Well, that one was pretty good too. But then what happens, but even the Washington Post acknowledged this the next day, that they found a very exotic germ in very large amounts all over the grounds where people gathered to hear the speakers at the end of the main march. The germ was called tularemia, or rabbit fever. It is a very, very, very nasty kind of flu that's been known to kill people. You know, take any kind of flu symptom you've ever had, combine them all and multiply it, and this is what rabbit fever is. And then it mysteriously all disappeared a couple days later. And what do I run into last night in Olympia, Washington, but two anti-war guys who looked like they were probably doing the same thing in the Vietnam era, too. They were older people saying, yep, we both got sick as hell after that march in D.C. All the same symptoms. You know, this is the kind of thing that starts creeping in more and more on a slippery slope. Meanwhile, Homeland Security itself is treated as a scam. You know, quietly, when nobody was looking, they made that so-called Patriot Act permanent, which legalized all these things like holding people without trial and requiring bookstores and libraries to turn out over lists to the government of who is reading what. They legalized that now, too. And so far, a bookstore in Denver fought that in court and won. But still, how Soviet can you get, basically? But has any of this made anyone in either of our countries any safer from terrorists? Probably the opposite.